Where the heck has she been? Where are my Astarion videos? And how come she never finished the Emperor series? Well, the answer to all of these questions can be summed up quite easily. It's because YouTube hates me. And since I never know if I'm going to get 300 views or 30,000 or even 300,000, it's probably best not to waste too much time on this intro. And if you don't care about how I came across this game and you just want to skip ahead, I'll make a timestamp to jump to. So, what have I been up to lately? Playing a lot of games, actually. It's amazing how much fun you can have when you're not always thinking, I need to use this as content for my channel, which happens when you're a content creator, and you end up just constantly playing everything only with the intention of making a video about it, which can get, a little tiring because you have a million saves, and yeah. Instead, I've just been having fun enjoying myself, playing what I want to play. And as some of you might be able to figure out just by the romantic nature of a lot of the content on this channel, well, I like games with romance in them, huh? And to be fair, the first game I ever played where I could woo and marry someone was Harvest Moon 64. Granted, things have come a long way from the days of romancing Karen as a dude in Harvest Moon 64, but the genre has always been a staple for me. I'm always looking for a new game that pushes the limits of what makes those particular games fun, like Stardew Valley did. And so I spent a good chunk of time playing another game that was like Stardew Valley or like, a Harvest Moon style game called Coral Island. It's newer, so it's got fancier graphics. It's not all pixelated. But, I played that and I came away with some complaints, mostly just that the guys I liked ended up being very dull, and I couldn't romance the shark guy, and marriage also felt like a complete afterthought. But then again, the game wasn't really completed and should have never gone out for a 1.0 release. It wasn't really worth talking about in terms of romance, at least not until they put some more work into it. So I kind of moved on and didn't really feel the itch to make a new video yet. I was really feeling this style of game though, and really hungry for some decent romance, all while farming and raising livestock. So I looked through my list of games on Steam and came back to a game I had since early access, but had never really invested a lot of time into. A game called My Time at Sandrock. I'm sure a lot of you have heard of the series, the first game being called My Time at Portia. I played Portia in EA2 and had a lot of trouble clicking with any of the townies. I played way too early on as well, and then I played so much that I didn't want to redo all of that same content again once the game actually released. That's kind of the problem with EA games. You just get sick of replaying it over and over again. But interesting enough, Sandrock had just released in November 2023, and since I never really played much in EA, well, it was like basically a fresh game for me. And I was hoping it wasn't going to pull a Coral Island and that it was actually a finished game. So I loaded it up, got to playing, and boy, oh boy, I was not ready for what was going to happen to me. That I was going to fall head over heels for the most unlikely of characters. They always say that bit about finding exactly what you want when you're not looking for it, right? Like, if a game is hyped, you almost always find reasons to complain about it not being as good as you expected it to be. But if you're not expecting anything, well, you can be surprised at how much more you got that you didn't, expect to get. And that's kind of how it went for me with My Time at Sandrock. So, compared to the first game, My Time at Portia, everything just felt cleaner in Sandrock. Like, I could plant in the ground, which was something that really irked me a lot about the original because you had to plant in these wooden boxes back then. But more than that, the villagers were actually pretty endearing. I found myself liking them. Like, imagine that. That doesn't happen a lot anymore, as most of the time with these games, there isn't much in terms of new dialogue once you've seen hard events. Sandrock is not like that, though. There's new dialogue and reactions all the time, as well as a ton of little cutscenes and quests. I was blown away by the amount of stuff there is to do with all of the characters. But what really got me going was just how many hot guys there were in this game. Like, usually I can only find maybe one that I'm into. physically, let alone, personality-wise. But, there were a bunch in this game, and even some that weren't as hot, but still had really good personalities, or funny personalities. But with me in these games, I like to gift and gain favor with all the guys I might be interested in, and then after enough hard events or whatever, I make my choice. And it's usually pretty obvious. Like, there's always like that one guy I go for. In Sandrock, though, it wasn't initially obvious to me. Like, I really just didn't know. I actually thought I was going to go for Owen. Like, because I thought, he's got the looks, he's rich, he runs a successful business, but ultimately he just didn't do it for me. Like, I need my men to have something wrong with them. Because I think the truth of it is that I've been through a lot of shit in my life, and I don't really relate well to people who are, well, too normal. Owen was just too perfect. Like, he didn't seem real. He didn't make me laugh either. And that's a big thing for me because this girl likes to laugh. But you know who took me by total surprise?
Who's that Pokemon?
It's Pen! This guy. This guy has got to be the most interesting, hysterical, and compelling romance I've experienced in a game in quite some time. And believe me, most of the time these pixel men don't really get under my skin. Like, I can go through a game and be like, nobody really did it for me, except, for the few exceptions of greatness, like Alistair from Dragon Age Origins, or Solus from Inquisition, or Astarion from BG3. But Pen was not my normal type. Like, yeah, I do actually kind of like buff guys, which is funny, because in BG3 I preferred Astarion to Halcyon, who of course was huge. But it's just to show, I guess, that I don't always go for my type. My type tends to be whoever I feel gets me and who I get the most in return. Hopefully that makes some kind of sense. Anyway, this guy is a complete meathead. He is so full of himself, it's cringe at times. All right, most of the time it's cringe. But then sometimes the shit that comes out of his mouth is so damn funny. Sometimes it's just because he's so ridiculous, but sometimes it's because he brings my inner mean girl out too, kind of like Astarion used to.
The strongest person in Sandrock? Am I supposed to try to be humble here or something? How about... Who knows? I mean, Burgess has been working out.
Before I knew it, I was visiting him as often as I could, always going to see what he had to say about the latest events, and of course giving him gifts. But I still just didn't take him really seriously. I mean, how could I? I shit you not. This guy actually got stuck looking in a mirror for 3 days. There was a quest for it and everything, and I had to go and save him because he couldn't stop looking at himself. Now, granted, it was a special mirror that Director Chi had made just to mess with him, but the point is that the guy is a narcissist and a half. Completely vain. All he cares about is working out, training, being amazing at fighting, and amazing in general. And I mean, the guy has what looks just like a Super Saiyan poster of Vegeta in his room, and he has the matching hairstyle. If that tells you something about him. I mean, besides that he's awesome. On top of that, he literally patrols town every day in a superhero costume and calls himself the Protector of Sandrock.
I, the magnificent Pen, the Protector of Sandrock, as of 5 seconds ago.
He wears a cape and everything, as you can plainly see, and the costume is actually a tracksuit. It actually says that on the wiki, which kind of makes me die laughing. So when did it happen that I started to fall for this guy? Like, how did it happen? Certainly, I would never find such flaws charming, or would I? But I did, and then before I knew it, I was giving him a heart knot, which is like the confession item. Think the blue feather in Harvest Moon. And that first date, if you can call it that, whew, that really cemented things for me. Now, this part might be considered spoilers, and honestly, I'll probably do some other videos talking about the individual scenes and why they're awesome, but this video is mostly supposed to be like an intro, a segue to talk about other pen-related topics, if you will, but this is honestly the best scene with him in the game. So for now, I'm just going to summarize it briefly and leave the more detailed stuff for another video. But if you don't want it spoiled at all, just skip this and go play the game for yourself. So basically, he completely surprised me when I gave him the heart knot, because he actually says something along the lines of, not just wanting to be your arm candy, but he says he desires true love instead. And I was just kind of like, what, really? Like, I didn't see that coming.
Surely you understand. I am quite the prize. I can't take myself off the market just to become arm candy for you to show off at your little Buildy Guild Awards or whatever it is. No, what I desire is true love. And I need to know that my attraction to you is more than just skin deep as well.
So, he acts like a total narcissist, and then when you actually ask him to, go out with you, he cares about it not being just skin deep. Like, I mean, that just goes to show that, he's not exactly what he appears to be. Like, Pen is the typical do not judge a book by its cover. So he wants to go on this date with you, but the date is killing robots in the ruins. And like I said, I don't want to ruin it because it's amazing, and I'll cover it in another video for those who are interested. But wow, it was one of the best romance quests I've seen, not only in this game, but in a lot of romance games. Like, I loved it so much that I found myself completely smitten with him by the end of it. And it's a rather long quest too, which is just great. And you even get a unique piece of furniture out of it to commemorate the whole thing. And the part where he kisses you is just like, oh, swoon worthy. And then he says this thing at the end about how the fact, like, basically he talks about how it is true love, and, the fact that you're both physically attracted to each other is just the hot, tasty cherry on top. Like, oh my God, this man.
And our physical infatuation's just a nice little cherry on top. A hot, tasty cherry.
Whew. So that's basically how I fell completely head over heels for Pen. And let's be honest, I still am. I'd say he's in my top 3 of pixel men, which is saying a lot, especially considering this game is kind of, well, like cartoonish almost. But Pen seems to have an incredibly adult vibe compared to many of the other characters. Many of them come off as pretty innocent, and Pen seems to be the naughty boy with so many bluntly put comments. Like during the mirror quest, he says this.
Eyes up here, Skinny.
Then there's the one part where he talks about mud wrestling.
Mud wrestling! Woohoo! All right, who's gonna mud me up? Don't be shy, there's plenty of pen to go around.
And even on the romance quest, one of his dialogue options is a part where he's actually saying, like, during your fight.
Ooh, yeah, Skinny. Work those thighs.
Oh, did I mention that he basically calls you Skinny Arms? It's like his nickname for you.
Greetings, Skinny Arms. Yo-ho, Skinny. Skinny Arms. Skinny. Skinny Arms. Skinny. Amazing, Skinny.
You get the idea. And at first I found it kind of insulting, but it really grows on you to the point where it's just downright endearing. Like, it's either Skinny or babe by the time you start dating. And some of the shit that comes out of his mouth is just, I mean...
Babe, look, babe. My pecs are glistening.
I'll really have to just make a spoiler video where I just go over all the best pen-isms. But, on top of that, he's also huge. I mean, I was checking his stats from the game, and it says he's 191 centimeters tall and weighs 105 kilograms. Now, I don't use the metric system, so I had to convert this to things I actually use, like feet and pounds. So doing that, he's 6'2" and change, actually closer to 6'3", and he weighs 200 131.5 pounds. Like, holy shit, this guy is massive. Can you even imagine? When you stand next to him in game, it's like you are a shorty. Like, I won't deny that alone has appeal. But what really gets me the most is how he comes off as a narcissistic idiot. But he's obviously not. Like, he uses words like pulchritudinous, which I actually had no idea. Like, I have a pretty big vocabulary myself. I've never even seen that word before. I had to look it up, but Pen has this extensive vocabulary. The guy is smart, and he has this depth to him that is obvious if you're paying attention. At first, he's very easy to dismiss, so you may find yourself letting your guard down, but man, if you just look a little harder, you're going to see a lot more there. And on top of that, his voice actor, Alex Ross, is superb. I mean, the way the lines are delivered, and mind you, most of those lines are pretty over the top, so you have to be a special kind of someone to be able to pull that off and make it sound good.
Could grate cheese on those abs. Hoo-ha! Staying in shape, builder? You should. Sandrock is a dangerous place, and I can't be there to save everyone all the time. Just kidding. Of course I can. That statement is not legally binding.
It's funny because he also voices Owen in the game, and I was shocked at first because I thought they sounded pretty different. There are definitely times when you can hear Pen creep into Owen's voice, though, or some of his lines, rather, but it never happens the other way around. So you can kind of tell that he liked Pen a bit more.
But lucky for you, this old barkeep has been around for just a hair longer than a panbat's age.
Now, I think I've gone on long enough for this video. I wanted to outline what I saw in this guy, what I thought made him the best romance in this game, without going too far into detail for those who want to try out the romance themselves. The next videos will be a bit more spoilery though, so be warned. And maybe in the meantime, check out the game, because if you're interested in Pen, he takes a very central role early on. I'll be back with more content soon though. I actually want to start a new game and record all of his quest scenes so I can talk about them individually. And then there's, of course, other things to discuss, but I'm not going to burst that balloon just yet. I just want to say thanks to my Patreons for their support, especially during my dry spell, and also thanks to the subscribers who have stuck with the channel for so long now and are still watching my content despite all the issues I've had with YouTube. Also, so you know, I'm going to stop notifying my subscribers about new videos, because from what I've been hearing, that can actually be a bad thing for your videos if people don't watch them, like dead subscribers, for instance, or people who consistently don't click on your new content. Supposedly, when you just put it out there, it will send it to new people who might be interested. And since the only ones who seem to watch my stuff anymore already have notify enabled, you guys should still see when new stuff comes out. Let's hope. You'll have to let me know if it still shows up for you. Okay, guys, that's it for now. I'll see you later.